Welcome to this Tuesday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford studio today. We'll discuss some NFL. The World Series starts tonight. Also, we will play my interview with Ole Miss head baseball coach Mike Bianco. That will be as part of the stream, kind of like our Saturday pre-recorded interviews during our game day coverage. So you can hang out. If you've not seen that, you can just sit back about 40 minutes with Mike. Again, we talk a lot of personal stuff with him. Not actually no baseball. We or no current baseball. We do not mention his current roster or current team one time during the interview. But it's a side of Mike that you don't typically see. So if you haven't heard it, it is worth the listen. And we'll be stuck with us schmucks the rest of the show as well. So we will hit a few topics. It is a Tuesday notebook up at rebelgrove.com from today. We've got and SEC Football and Beyond is up, I saw pinned on the message board, as well as some snap counts through the first 4 games. So a good bit of content at rebelgrove.com this morning on this Tuesday. And the podcast brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford Speed Pass Plus app. You can get that. It is convenient. It is an efficient way to pay right there at the pump. You don't have to go inside. You can be on your way as quick as possible. All Blue Sky locations in Mississippi. And when you head on into the Oxford Exxon, you also get the lunch specials for $5.69 every single day. 2 sides bread, a 32-ounce drink there at the Oxford Exxon. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get the quote, and the rest is completely up to you. You can shop it around, or you can do what I've done. Let's hop into a Clark Ford today. You'll love the product. You'll love the service after the sale. 662-257-1900. Guest, including Mike Bianco, join us on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. Rafters Music and Food on the Square is open. Be a great place to watch the World Series, which starts tonight. Tonight's Tuesday. Is there an NFL game tonight?
There is not.
No NFL game tonight. No. World Series tonight, World Series tomorrow, and then another week of college and pro football, thank God, including the Big Ten. They join the gang on Saturday, so be a great place to hang out on Saturday. Ole Miss and Auburn at 11 a.m. And so if you're not going to Vaught-Hemingway, you can watch at Rafters. It'll be a great place to hang out after the game if you're coming into town. Please make sure that you take care of the people there at Rafters and thank them for helping take care of us during the pandemic and beyond.
So, looks like Florida's in another bit of a mess here from a COVID standpoint. Cases up to, 25 or something like that this time, maybe 31. I don't know, something.
I continue to hear though that they're hopeful that they can play next week.
Is they okay? Because their next game is October 31st against Missouri. Currently on the schedule, so just I heard that right before I came in. So that
they don't play this week or next, right?
Well, they were canceled against LSU or postponed or whatever, and then they're postponed the 24th.
Yeah,
and then so they play the 31st. Yeah,
so they play and then nonstop through the 12th.
That is correct. Yes, that is the way it's currently.
Well, and the other thing, and I think this might end up applying
the matching
to Florida.
bye thing worked out there for Missouri and Florida.
There's also another built-in week off too, is that if you don't qualify for the SEC championship and you need to make a game up, you can do it on the 19th.
That's true. So 12 of the teams can play play that day.
It's like Vanderbilt has some time.
Are they mathematically eliminated?
I think pretty much everybody except Alabama, Georgia, and maybe Florida are mathematically eliminated at this point.
Somebody mentioned it on the board yesterday, and look, they're going to lose somewhere. Did A&M run it and get into the conversation?
Absolutely. Chris and I talked about that on SEC Football and Beyond. They don't have another surefire loss on their schedule. Their one loss was at Alabama. And so if you assume that Georgia wins the East and Georgia loses to Alabama again, and you assume there's not a fourth team, that it's
sure. You got to have help, obviously.
It's Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and somebody. A&M would have a hell of a shot at being that somebody.
Because you look at the rest of their schedule here, in Florida, they've already beat.
Yep.
So there's not much left. Arkansas, Carolina, Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, Auburn.
They're favored in every one of those games. Now they could lose one of them, but they're favored in all of them.
I'm not sure it's still enough. Because you, frankly, have as of now, one quality win.
Well, the question would be who else would get it.
Yeah.
Because there's no Big 12 team's going to get it. there's probably not going to be a second Big Ten team.
Mm-hmm. There's no, unless you want to play the Notre Dame game, the ACC.
Well, the problem with Notre Dame is that they're going to play Clemson and get slaughtered.
Yeah. They play them twice?
Well, they'll have to play them in a championship game.
That's what I'm saying. They would technically get them twice.
So they'd get killed. And
you don't need those two teams to go 1-1, obviously.
Right. So somebody's got to be that fourth team who gets mauled by Clemson.
Somebody can go 6-0 in the Pac-12. Oregon.
I guess. Maybe
6-0 Oregon get in?
I don't know. I think
6 or 7?
They got to play 6. I think it's going to be a lot of. They would have to be awfully impressive doing it.
Just because of the numbers game. I mean, you're playing half as many games.
Well, and you also said you can't do this, and they were all haughty about it. And trust me when I tell you there are people in the ACC and the Big 12 and the SEC that would like to take the Big 10 and the Pac-12 out behind the woodshed. They'd like to have the fight with no holds barred. There's anger. I mean, I'm serious. I'm not making this up. I mean, I've talked to people. There are angry people who think a whole lot of what happened in early August was avoidable, preventable, and was done for theater.
Yeah, they have a shot. Wait, I guess here's your question. And I mean, whatever. I think A&M would technically have the front line to this, but is losing to Alabama once any more impressive than losing to them twice? I mean, what still eliminates? I get Georgia's not getting in, but in a lot of ways, that's kind of okay. Sure.
Yeah,
whatever.
sure. I mean,
because A&M can play Bama 10 times, they're losing all 10.
Yes, Georgia would have had 2 shots. Probably not going to get a third in that scenario. So.
I guess my point being, those two teams on the field, I know I want Georgia over A&M.
I mean, what the SEC probably deep down hopes is that Georgia plays JT Daniels, figures it out, upsets Alabama, and they both make it.
Yeah, without even a question.
And then they play a third time and then go, y'all sort it out.
Yeah, have at it.
Yeah.
We don't care. We're going to count
the first
money.
half of that game Saturday was a hell of a football game.
It was, yeah. Blow by blow.
It was really entertaining.
That kid wasn't going to win his start there.
No, they'll have to play Daniels. But, they look at their schedule. They've got time. Nobody going to beat them between now and then.
Yeah, they got a minute.
Yeah, so they've got time to kind of work it out.
Yeah.
I mean, someone's got to be the fourth team if you're going to have 4 teams.
No, they're definitely going to have 4 teams because that.
So, Clemson's going to be one. Alabama's probably going to be one.
Ohio State's probably going to be one.
And Ohio State almost certainly will be one. And if it's not Ohio State, it'll be somebody who beats Ohio State. I guess there's a possibility the second team comes out of the Big Ten, but I'm just telling you, there's so much animosity right now that I don't see it.
Well, I mean, who would that even be, though? I mean,
no, I don't know. I mean,
from an even good enough standpoint.
Yeah.
That's my point. Yeah, I don't know. Last night in the NFL, Kansas City knocks off Buffalo 26-17, and then the Cardinals rout the Cowboys 38-10 in Dallas last night. Cowboys, however, still winning the division at 2-4 right now. So there is that. I mean, you've got a possibility, not just like, hey, 7-9. Somebody can win that division at 6-10. Like, I mean, really bad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's unbelievable.
Get a home game against the Saints or Rams. Or
I mean, the Giants
like
are what, 1-5 and 1 game out of the lead.
That's correct. Yes. After Judge getting his first win this past week.
Well, look, I didn't watch much of it, but what I did see of the Cowboys last night. Dak Prescott must have been covering up a lot.
Well, look, they weren't good anyway. I mean, they were 2-3 prior to last night, even.
But he must have been covering up a lot.
Well, it's kind of it's the question of the day, and it's the argument that the NFL has nonstop, which is yes, these salaries are exorbitant. These salaries make no sense in a lot of ways. But if you have even a semi-top 12 competent quarterback, there aren't other humans out there that can do that in the world.
No.
So you hold on to him. Even if he's not a top 3 guy, even if you go, you know what, I don't know that he can win a Super Bowl for us, but he's good enough to do this, and this, you pay him. And it's why, look, Dak made a bad decision. Dak gambled on himself in a way that is not going to come out to $40 million a year at the end of the year. Turned down a lot of money, 30, whatever it was. But because of the premium on quarterback play, had he stayed healthy, I don't know that he wouldn't have gotten really close to it. I think the injury is probably what knocks him out of that. Somebody's still going to pay Dak Prescott a lot of money to play quarterback when this year's over. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. But I think he's an example. Frankly, his backup, Andy Dalton's an example of this when he was in his prime in Cincinnati. While I'm kind of contradicting what I just said, so many NFL teams, so many GMs get into this bad spot of paying the guy who can't win the Super Bowl. We've got a top 15 guy, but he's not a top 4 guy. And we can win the division and we can get in the playoffs. And you know what? We might even win a playoff game. But we're probably not winning the whole thing. And it kind of shows you, hey, what's the expectation here? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to just sell some tickets and be fun? Are we trying to do this?
Well, here's how hard it is to find a quarterback. This is ProFootballNetwork.com.
Okay.
I don't know what they're worth or not worth.
Sure.
Maybe they're biased as hell. I don't know. This is their quarterback rankings through week 6. Number 1 is Russell Wilson.
Okay.
No one's arguing that he's a franchise quarterback.
Nope.
Number 2 is Aaron Rodgers. Ditto.
Sure.
Number 3 is Patrick Mahomes. Duh.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets interesting. Number 4 is Josh Allen with Buffalo. I don't watch
Had
Josh
a hell
Allen.
of a 4 weeks.
Yeah, I don't watch Josh Allen at any point and go, that's a Super Bowl winner. But right now, if you had Josh Allen, you'd be like, yeah, we'd keep him. Number 5 is Ryan Tannehill, who's frankly having an MVP caliber year right now.
He is.
Deshaun Watson is 6. Here's the best example. I don't think Deshaun Watson's ever going to win a championship. Yet, he's the 6th best quarterback in the NFL right now, statistically. Lamar Jackson, 7th. We've been there, done that. Matt Ryan is 8th.
Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan is 8th.
Who should have won a Super Bowl, but still, Matt Ryan?
He's thrown for 1,472 yards.
Okay. They're 1-5.
Yeah, no, 63.2% passing, which is 23rd. He's got 7 TDs.
Sure.
Kyler Murray is 9. That's what I mean. Kyler Murray's 9. Tom Brady's 10. Been there, done that. Derek Carr is 11.
Derek Carr.
Jared Goff is 12.
Okay.
Ben Roethlisberger's 13.
Jared Goff's actually kind of underrated. He's had a pretty good year.
Roethlisberger's 13. Joe Burrow right now is 14. He's thrown for 1,304 yards, 65.2% completion percentage,
Sure.
6 TDs. Cam Newton's 15. Drew Brees is 16.
The Saints are paying $30 million for the 16th ranked quarterback in the league.
My boy Justin Herbert is 17. Teddy Bridgewater's 18. Gardner Minshew is 19. No, I love Gardner.
Yeah, we love
known
Gardner.
him since back in the day.
Yeah. He ain't winning a Super Bowl.
Kirk Cousins is 20. Ryan Fitzpatrick, who just lost his job, at 21. Matthew Stafford, 22. Baker Mayfield, 23. Phillip Rivers, it's over, but 24. Carson Wentz, 25. Jimmy Garoppolo, 26. Andy Dalton.
Talk about a star falling. Garoppolo at 26.
Yep. Drew Lock, 28.
Sure.
Nick Foles. Daniel Jones.
Kind of unfair to you, boy. Foles there, 5-1, and
it is
sitting down there at 29. Played in a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl MVP.
I mean, that's unfair.
The Giants, the pick of Jones just looks worse and worse and worse.
It's screaming at you every day now, isn't it?
He's 30. Sam Darnold, 31. Another. Kyle Allen, who I didn't even know was still playing, is 32. So of the starting quarterbacks in week 6, that's who that is.
And you don't feel like you could win Super Bowl with more than like 6 of those dudes.
Well, I mean, today?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know Brady won one. I mean,
Brady and Breeze have been very good. But are you sure you're winning one today with one of them?
I mean, I'll go through it. Who would I feel comfortable winning one today?
Sure.
Wilson, for sure.
Of course.
I think Rodgers.
Sure, yeah.
I guess.
He can win Super Bowl, sure.
Mahomes, yeah. Not Allen. On that team, Tannehill, yeah, maybe.
But see, okay, I will cut you. That's a little bit what Allen is too, though. It's, hey, on that team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Allen's probably not going to the Saints and throwing that sumbitch all over the world and doing all this, but he does fit that team. I even kind of thought the media was a little tough on him last night. It was raining. He didn't play overly well, but it was fine. He was all right last night.
I mean, I love Watson. I'd love to see him win. I think I think he's a great story. I don't know that I would be like, oh yeah, I got Deshaun Watson, we're winning the Super Bowl. I'd be more like, I've got Deshaun Watson, we're making it to the playoffs.
Sure.
Lamar Jackson could do it.
Yeah, sure.
He could, absolutely. If you handed me Matt Ryan today at his age, I'd be like, no, I don't think so. I think it's over. Had a hell of a career.
Yeah, sure. But he blew his opportunity.
I'm not ready on Kyler Murray just yet.
Nope.
I wouldn't want Tom Brady today.
Nope.
Derek Carr, no. Jared Goff, maybe.
On the right fit, Goff's on the list.
It's got to be really right.
It does. I mean, he played in one. If you play in one, you can win one. He won 2 years ago.
I'm not Roethlisberger, I'm done.
They might be the best team in the league. Though.
Yeah, they might be, but I'm just, he averaged the second worst average air yards per completion for the weekend.
Well, that's not good.
On throws 20 or more yards downfield, Roethlisberger was 1 for 4. He's just, I don't know. The jury's still out on Burrow. I'm not ready to.
At this point, who down the list would you say yes to? Because I mean, there's going to be a lot of no's at this point.
It's Cam, Drew. I guess Drew, maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
Not Herbert, as much as I'd love that. Not Bridgewater, as much as I'd love that story.
Oh,
God,
man.
what a great story Teddy Bridgewater would be. But are you betting?
He might even make me root for the Panthers a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, are you betting on Teddy Bridgewater? I just watched him against the Bears defense, and he's a great story, and he's gutsy, and I love the guy, and he's awesome, and all that. But no, Kirk Cousins, no, Gardner, no. That's why if you're
so you name like 7.
if you're Dak, you just say, hey, my ankle's good. Once it's good, I want $50 million, and I'd like it.
I'm reading from the stream here. AC says that Dallas Talk Radio is talking about why Dak would want to come back for the horrible team culture and franchise. So
well, I mean, look, if he can prove that he's healthy, the right fit for him, now he'd have to go get the right fit. He's got to get on a really good team.
Oh. That's the thing. I mean, he's been playing with an elite back and an elite offensive line. I mean.
Yeah. That's no longer elite.
Yeah.
And Elliott's got a lot of tread off those tires.
Look, running backs don't last in this league. I mean,
he was awesome. But I don't know that he's awesome anymore.
He's not even old either.
But he's gotten hit a lot.
I mean, it's why. I mean, look, I'm glad they paid him, but it's why the Saints had to make a decision on paying Alvin Kamara. Are you paying for running backs that get beat around all the time? What are you doing?
You're careful.
You're certainly that.
And the Dolphins are turning it to Tua. Saying, here, let's figure out what we got.
Because they're not going anywhere, so sure. I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, if I'm the Jets right now.
It's my argument with the Saints. Look, I get they're 3-2, and they're not going to. Just look at it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Now, look, they're not going to. They can go 3-13, and
they're going to. He's going
to get the sunset.
Yep.
Because I admit that people thought I was being an emotional fan on Twitter last week, and I get they came back and won the game. But when the Saints were down 2 scores to the Chargers, I said, okay, if they go down 3, just put Jameis in.
To answer your question, Grind says, I haven't seen one snap of NFL Tua. Has he played yet? He played some mop-up Sunday. It's his job now. They're not good. If I'm the Jets, I don't win another game. I don't win. I don't win. I get Lawrence. He makes sense. In that media market, I get him. He's a grounded guy. He's already married, all that stuff. I probably can just move on.
Get him and hope to God you got your Eli Manning for the next a dozen years.
Yep. Kind of a similar guy, really.
Yeah.
Kind of laid back. Private.
Yeah. That's your goal.
I mean, get him a couple of radio gigs a week and
maybe
leave it be.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. We'll come back. We'll talk a little more in a little bit. Again, we're going to go
to answer Adam's question, would Trevor Lawrence consider going back to college to avoid the Jets? No. Look at the amount of money. No, and twice on no. I don't even know that anybody at Clemson would
It takes one knee hit.
Yeah, no. I don't know that anybody at Clemson would even let him.
I mean, Tua is your example there. No, go.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
yeah.
Look, Tua's going to be all right, but he lost some money with that hip.
I would assume it was more likely that he would not play this year than he would play 2 years.
Yeah, sure. Going to go to my talk with Mike Bianco in 1 second. Before we do that, I'll tell you about Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting and understands your market. Leader in condo financing, the float down option, and more. You can find Jason at 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
Heritage Properties is home to 3 communities in Oxford, Faulkner Flats, Cambridge Station, and Lexington Point. They're all multifamily housing. All offer on-site management and maintenance. They're pet-friendly, and they offer short-term leases. Lexington Point, located less than a mile from campus, has spacious 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartment homes with free cable internet, covered parking, and much more. Move in. That's outdated. So check in with them they had a special about getting November rent free if you moved in by October 1st. Don't know where that stands, but you could find out by giving them a call, 662-234-4558. We're also brought to you by The Rogue. The Rogue is your destination for fine men's clothing. Their stylists hand-select pieces from top designers, and they work to help you fit your lifestyle from nightlife to work and everything in between. They have the best items from Peter Millar, Martin Dingman, Jack Victor, Duckhead, Halsey, True Grit, and more. Check them out at therogue.com or visit them at 4450 I-55 North in Jackson. We're also brought to you by Meadowbrook Wealth Advisors of Raymond James, a team in Jackson providing planning and investment guidance to clients across the state and surrounding areas. Financial advisors Bill Geary, Logan Phillips, Chris Carrero, and Ryan Geary are partners with a commitment to personalized service, so call them at 601-368-2215. See if they might be a good fit for your financial goals. Raymond James and Associates, Incorporated, member New York Stock Exchange, SIPC. We're also brought to you by the law firm of Bain, Moss, and Bowen, PLLC, located in historic downtown Corinth. Their firm practices a wider range of law, from DUI defense to car wrecks to representing government entities. Bain, Moss, and Bowen is the only firm in Mississippi made up of a sitting state legislator, a former assistant district attorney, and a former circuit court judge. Their experience is unmatched in that regard. You can tap into it by visiting them at 618 East Waldron Street in Corinth or by calling them at 662-287-1620. And we are brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB has a commercial checking account now paying 1% interest as long as you keep $10,000 in the account. Comes with fully interactive online banking. To learn more, go to liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured.
So we're going to play the interview with Ole Miss baseball coach Mike Bianco now. I know his volume's a little low on the Zoom. I have no idea how to fix it. Zoom typically fixed that. They leveled the audio, but on this one they didn't, and I don't know. So I think I talk really loud, and he was kind of far from the computer, and it is what it is. But you can hear it, but I am aware on the podcast I can fix it. So we will fix it. If you're listening to the podcast version, you won't notice anything. But on the Zoom, if you're hanging out with our stream, we'll be around. I'll kind of watch it as we go. So 40 minutes now with Ole Miss head baseball coach Mike Bianco. Mike Bianco joining us now on the Raptors Music and Food Hotline. Mike, I've got to ask this. I don't know that I have. You've been doing this 21 years now in the SEC. They still mispronounce your name every time in Hoover during the post-game press conferences. About half the visiting PAs around the league. At what point did you stop correcting people?
I haven't been big on that. I remember my first year. So here's a long story from a long time ago. When I was a junior at LSU, my first year there, I was a junior college transfer, and they always would say Bianco, and of course my mom got mad, and so I had to change it to Bianco. So Bill Franquez, the longtime sports information director there, was our SID at the time. And he changed it there, but I've had it a lot of different ways. Bianco more often, but Bianca, we get a lot of them, so it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah, it's the one in Hoover that I always laugh at and go, it's the same moderator most years. You would think over the time they'd eventually figure that out from
sometimes it's a power move to let them know that, hey, listen, you're still a little guy. I don't care how long you've been here. We're going to mispronounce your name, and if you don't like it, talk.
Yeah. How have you adjusted to Zoom? I mean, we were just talking about it a minute ago, the light and the dark and everything. And I mean, I sort of talk for a living. I'll be honest. I don't feel as connected to the person I'm talking to. I'm still struggling with it a little bit. How's it been in your world?
Well, I think good and bad, like everything. I think through this pandemic, we're all learning. Some of us, not by choice, but getting a little more innovative with our technology, and these are things that have been out there, but we've never used before. And now, um, in some ways, it's been good for us, and to be able to Zoom some recruits or to have meetings and certainly through this, we've needed it, with our team and some guys in quarantine and try to stay connected. And I think, not that this is any big revelation for anybody, but I think over the last 6-8 months and trying to whatever business that you've had, the way that you've had to adjust, via Zoom and business people not flying to certain places. I think when the CEOs start to understand that, hey, we can do the same thing and not actually be there in person, and how much money we can save. I think this is the way the world's turning to. I'm with you. I think there's nothing that can replicate the in-person conversation. But it's much better than a phone. It's much better than a conference call. The thing that I get frustrated now with is you get on a Zoom and then the people don't put the video on, and so now it just becomes the conference call. You just see Chase Parham up on the screen. Sure. You don't even know if Chase is even there anymore. Because he's got his thing muted, and he's sitting there cooking dinner, and he's not really paying attention. So that's a little frustrating, but again, I think it's a great way to stay connected that we didn't know before.
Can you use it in recruiting anyway, or is it strictly different things, or what is it?
No, we have, and again, it still goes with the rules. So really to try to not get into the weeds of the NCAA rules, but the kids that you can call, the kids that you can text, you certainly can Zoom. And so through this, because of the dead period and not being able to kids take visits, as a coach is talking to them, it's one thing to talk to a kid on the phone, but eventually they would come here. Eventually they'd be sitting right behind me in the office. And so, we've had some of those presentations, where, sat with the family and did the visit this way. And that's a lot better than just talking to them on the phone.
I was going back through a story I wrote a few years ago on you about your hire at Ole Miss, and I ran across the tidbit, and I think you told me, and then I asked Camby about it, that when you got done with LSU, you decided to go into financial planning there for a minute or two. Was that something that you thought at the time it was going to be a potential long-term deal? Were you just kind of waiting on a guy like Jim Wells to call? What was sort of the situation there?
No, I think the story behind it is I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college on either side.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like a lot of young kids, my mom and dad told me growing up that you're going to go to college. And if you go to college, you'll get a degree. And if you get a degree, you'll get a better job than the kid that didn't. And so you'll be better off. But to an 18-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, I grew up in middle class family, and be honest with you, I got everything that I needed and probably most of the things that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I get this degree, right, this golden ticket, then I'm going to have much more than this. I'm going to be rich. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what job I'm going to get, but I'll be better off than my parents. They're telling me, just get this golden ticket, this degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went to college in the 80s, everybody seemed to be a business major and be in some type of finance. And so when I got out, I went to work for a company called First Investors Corporation in Tampa, and hated it. Every day driving over the bridge over the bay into Tampa with a coat and tie on, and just couldn't wait till 5 o'clock, couldn't wait till Friday, just couldn't wait till it to be over. And I started realizing, one, I'm not making any money at this. And number two is I can't do this for the next 40 years of my life. There's just no way. And the only thing that I really enjoyed doing was, not just playing baseball, but being part of it, being at the field. And I used to work a lot of Coach Burtman's camps and whatnot. And, I remember him asking me that, that I should be a coach. So then I called him up, when I had this epiphany that I wasn't going to be a very successful financial planner. And he said, hey, you need to call Jim Wells because he's looking for a graduate assistant. And that's how it started. And so August 1990, I went up to Natchitoches, Louisiana, and started to become a baseball coach.
You talk about money and different things, though. Is that one of the reasons you didn't even just for a couple of weeks give it a shot or whatever it was when you got drafted? I mean, was there the thought of, hey, if I was going to be around baseball, I at least could have done that for a minute?
I think that back then it was when I graduated, I caught, people know Ben McDonald now as the announcer, on SEC Network, but he was the number one pick in the draft. And so, people see scouts at our games. When we played, when I caught Ben, there's literally 50, 60 scouts. I mean, there was the area guy, the cross-checker, GMs, there's scouting directors. And so I caught in front of everybody. I was catching the guy that they were there to see. And I had been drafted 2 previous times and elected to continue to go to school. And now that I was, finishing my eligibility, I get drafted again. But LSU had this thing called ninth semester aid. And so if you didn't sign a professional contract, they would keep you on scholarship until you graduated, which was a great deal. And from a kid that couldn't afford out-of-state tuition and all of that if I signed, basically they were going to give me $1,000 and a plane ticket to go play on some low A-ball team. And I had a summer semester and a fall semester that if I just stayed and didn't sign, LSU would have paid for that. If I signed, it was actually going to cost me a lot more money because I would have forfeited that ninth semester aid. And I knew I wasn't going to play in the big leagues. Could I have been the Bull Durham story and hung out a few years and helped some of the younger guys? And really, I think that's what they wanted me to do. Because I was an older 22-year-old catcher that could help some of the young guys, but I was a 39th round draft choice, if I remember right. And I didn't want to do that. We had just finished third in the College World Series, and I just didn't want to remember baseball, in a bad way. I was happy with, everything that happened in my baseball life, and I didn't need to be miserable and hate baseball. And I knew a lot of guys went into professional baseball with the dream and hopes of making it to the big leagues. But like most of them, they're not going to make it to the big leagues, and they ended up hating baseball. They ended up, just really quitting, and I didn't want that to happen.
So you get the graduate assistant job at Northwestern State. I mean, did it take being getting to LSU and kind of moving on? I mean, when did you know, hey, this is actually a profession? I mean, when does it become, I'm going to do this or what? I mean, how do you kind of go there?
I don't know when that moment happened.
Yeah.
Northwestern State, was eye-opening because, one, I was already poor, financial planner, and so getting up to Northwestern State, I laugh. I say, I always say the joke, my first job at Northwestern State, I was there for 2 years, actually cost me about, $5,000 in student loans because as a graduate assistant, you got a $1,000 stipend each semester. That's all you got. Well, they gave me a dorm room, and so I was able to stay in the dorm room. And tuition, can you imagine, back in 1990, fall of 1990, was like $920 a semester at Northwestern State. And so with the $1,000 stipend, I would pay that, and I had $80 left over to buy a meal ticket at the cafeteria, and that's all I needed, and that's all I did. And so the next year, I was so tired of the dorm and being the old guy in the athletic dorm, and so I took a student loan out and rented an apartment for a year to kind of get out of the dorm life. And here's a little side note to that. One of my neighbors in my apartment complex was Greg Sankey. Sankey was our compliance officer at Northwestern State when I was there. And so so I've known Greg since 1990.
What year did you and Kimmy get married?
1992.
Okay, so right at the end of that.
Yeah, August of 1992. So I did my 2 years at Northwestern State, got hired at LSU, and was going to start that fall. So I finished camp that summer with Coach Burtman and got married August 1st. We went to Destin for a couple days after the wedding because we couldn't afford anything. So we went to Destin and, spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 days down there, came back and, started work in 1992. And, first year there, we won the national championship in 93.
I think your first contract here was what, 75,000 a year or something like that. I mean, you got these $40 million stadium upgrades now. I'm not surprised, but would you have predicted that college baseball has become the business it is today?
I hear what you're saying. I don't know if I even look at it that way, as the business. I get the business side of it, and I know you've known me for such a long time that I understand how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I knew, if you're asking if I thought it could happen here, the answer is yes. And I knew that from the day that I stepped on campus. I knew we'd draw. I knew that we could bring, if you want to stay in that business realm, that we could bring a product here that people would embrace and love, and the people would come. College baseball is a neat product. It's a neat thing. Even now, I just got a text yesterday from Janice Rupert from our marketing department that we've sold 2,600 tickets in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
For ticket renewals, and that's 800 ahead of last year's that broke the record.
Sure.
At the same time frame. So I think the easy answer is, and I don't mean it egotistically, I learned from arguably the greatest college baseball coach ever, and he learned from Ron Frazier down in Miami and how to do it, and this is the system, and so we thought that could happen here. I think I'm probably more surprised of all the other places that it's happened.
Yeah, you in 2000. I mean, I don't know. You probably didn't even look past a couple of years. But if somebody said, "Hey, you're still going to be right here in 20 years," you're obviously going, "Well, it was pretty dang successful because they hadn't run me out of town yet." But at the same time, and you probably never thought, "Hey, I'm taking a job tomorrow, and it's the next 2 decades of my life, and where my kids are going to grow up."
Yeah, I don't think ever as a coach, one, that you should think that way.
Mm-hmm.
As far as financial planning, I learned that too much. You better, pay yourself, first, and, look to the future, put some money away and all of that. But as far as where are you going to be, I think as coaches, and not just in baseball, but in any other sport, I don't know any job if you think hey, I'm going to be here in 20 years. I'm going to be in the same job in the same company. So I don't think it's really that far-fetched, but certainly not in the coaching profession. And, the old take it one day at a time, right? Take it 1 year at a time. And it's, Oxford and Ole Miss has been very good for us.
You're still a pretty young man. How long do you want to do this? I mean, you told me in the past you don't necessarily think you're Wayne Graham at 80 or anything.
No doubt. No, that's not going to happen. I don't know. We talk about it more now, Cammie and I, than we have in the past. And I think it's more, just kind of dreaming and guessing. I think, the thing that's difficult to answer that question is where we are in our lives. We have 3 kids that are in college. We got one, Catherine, that's still in high school, and she'll get to college. Certainly it'll be after they finish school. But then what will our life look like? Talking to like Tim Corbin, where his kids are grown up, and it's different for him. His wife travels with them a lot, and it's a different relationship. I don't know what our life's going to look like, 7 years from now, 6 years from now, when maybe Catherine's done with college, and how I'm going to feel, and how physically I'm going to feel, and what my health is like, but, my guess is somewhere in that 10 years, I think, somewhere, but I think it could go, a couple years either way, but I think 10 is safe, but somewhere between 60 and 65. I know I'm not a lifer. I know I want to do something after this, and I don't mean professionally, maybe I want to do something, and that may push the clock up, my coaching career, but I don't, I want to retire. I want to, spend some time with my wife and travel. We don't get to do that. I'd like to, spend time with my grandkids and be able, we have 5 kids, as you know, and not likely that they'll all be here in Oxford. So they'll be, all over the country. And, I want to have the ability to be able to go see them and watch them play baseball and, be a part of their lives.
You and Kimmy made the decision, like we've talked about, written about, of none of your kids playing for you. Has that been harder as you expected, just on trying to catch all their games, on the fact that you are missing so much? I mean, what's that been like as a dad to just try to navigate that?
I don't know if it's been harder, with technology and how much that's really gotten better over the last few years of streaming and the SEC network and the ACC Network Plus, or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
We've been able to watch, and the luxury for that is that's when you become the dad, the parent. Like a lot of our kids that parents are back home in Florida, Texas, or California, where they can't get here for every game. I'll get done, with our game, let's say, in the beginning of the year, maybe we play a 3 o'clock game against Memphis on a Tuesday. Usually by the time I'm walking in the locker room, Clem will somebody already have LSU or Louisville up on the TV in the locker room, on our, Apple TV, and we'll be watching it. I'll be honest with you, sometimes I'll check and I'll look at my phone to see if they even played, if they played and how they did, and, can I catch it, Drew came in and pinched hit in the 7th, so I can fast forward all the other stuff because I'm the dad. I don't, I'm not in it who's winning and who's losing. I just want to know how my kids did, right?
It was a huge internet thing. What was going through your body when Drew hits that home run?
It's probably the most asked question beyond, your first question of how it all came about. Why'd you guys make the decision? And the truth of the matter is, this is what I do, and it's not, it's not me against Drew or me against Ben last year.
Sure.
Or if we end up playing, University of Louisiana, me against Sam. It's really just trying to be, do my job, be the head coach at Ole Miss, and if you go back to that time, people just see the home run. I'm not sure. Were you at the game?
I was not, no.
So, if I remember right, so I'll try to get through it, quickly without boring you. I think we were losing something like 4-2, but we knew LSU's bullpen, was maybe one of their Achilles that year.
Sure.
And knew that we had a shot, especially with the offense that we had, that year, that we could do some damage late in the game. I think we had bases loaded, and at the time, trying to think who we had out on the mound, somebody in relief, and had Miller hot in the bullpen, and then we go back out. We don't score with bases loaded. It's 4-2, but we're still going to get another chance. They get a guy on. I think they get him in scoring position. And I normally never do this. You probably know this by now. Our bullpen's kind of thin. It's good, but it's thin. And the two main guys I think at the time are Miller and Caracci. And I don't want to use Miller in a game that I'm down by 2 on Friday night with 2 games remaining. But he's already hot. Just bring him in and get out of this fire that we're in right now. Well, we bring him in, they end up butting the guy over and getting a sac fly to go up 5-3. So now I'm like, I don't really want to warm somebody else up. Can we get out of this? I think there's 2 outs now, and he's facing Cabrera. Now Drew isn't even in the game.
Sure.
Right? So now I'm obviously not feeling good. I got one of my main relievers out there in a 3-run deficit that doesn't look good for the Rebs. And we just got to get – well, Cabrera has a long at bat, full count. He ends up hitting a home run to go up, I want to say, like 6-3 or 6-2. So now we're down by 4. So it's not likely that we're going to win. So now I push Roth down to the bullpen. But unbeknownst to me, they announced now batting Drew Bianco. Like, he wasn't even on deck. And he'll tell you the story. Like, he's sitting, like, in the tunnel there because Maneri doesn't bring those guys out because – he doesn't want us to switch pitchers or whatnot. So I'm worried about just getting Miller off the field, and then they announce it. And, of course, the place, out the box, all the fans, they know what's happening. Yeah. They know that, like, hey, now this is finally it. We didn't think we were going to see it tonight, but now Bianco versus Bianco. And I'm like, really? This is how it's finally going to happen? I've been answering these questions for a year, and now finally this is how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And course, he hits the first pitch out off the foul pole. And then everybody, was asking me afterwards, a backflip, and you don't see that. He hits the ball and then you follow it. I didn't see any of that. And of course the place is going crazy, and I didn't really know what to think. At the time, I think I was like so frustrated. Now it's 7-2, the game's over. He hits the home run. The game ends. And the bad part about it is, baseball, you shake the coach's hand, but you don't see them. We go, we do the media, we get on the bus, go back to the hotel. It's about midnight by the time I realize I haven't even spoken to him. And so I text him, as I'm going to bed. I said, "Hey, congratulations. I'm really proud of you." Yeah. And he said, "Thanks, Dad." He says, "That means a lot." And all by text. And he says, the weirdest, greatest moment of my life. And he tells the story, because you got to remember, he went to school with Dillard and Kessinger and all those guys. He's running around the bases, and he couldn't look at him. He's running with his head down. Yeah. He said, "It was such an out-of-body experience that, they tap helmets." He goes, "I couldn't even feel my helmet. Like, when he tapped helmets, he dropped his helmet. He was like, I was just like in another world." So.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where I've become incredibly sentimental as a father. I mean, my daughter's 4, and I watch it and I go, it's the one negative of this. Like I said, I've known you 15 years. You're going to be completely professional in the moment, but everybody's kind of robbed of it a little bit. You know what I mean? That happens against anybody else, and it's a little different deal as a parent and a son and the whole
and it's, everybody, looks to that moment, and it's, one of the tough things is, it's tough for my wife. Like last year when Louisville was here, game 2, Ben struck out, to end the game, with the tying run at second base, I think. And like my wife, was just, what a tough moment for her. The camera's on her, and, you really don't want to be in that moment. It's not enjoyable. It's one of those you can't really win. I want my kid to have success, but my job is to coach. And so, you just do your job, and, let what happens. They're either going to strike out, or they're going to get a hit, or they're going to get a home run. And so, and even if you look, last year against Louisville, so Ben strikes out to finish that game, that they end up losing. Of course, I eat with him about an hour and a half later over, his grandparents' house. The next day, his very next at bat, I think, he hits a home run against us. Yeah. And he ends up hitting a little blue double at the end of the game, basically in the same situation, to keep the rally alive, and scores a run. And so as a parent, like for Cammie, of course, she's so happy for her son, but she doesn't really know how to act because, her husband's in the other dugout trying to win.
Sure.
So, it's one of those where she'll probably be happy if we don't have to play any of the other, brothers anymore.
You mentioned midnight when you text Drew, and I mean, even if I'm just covering the game or writing whatever, I need a little while to wind down. How do you wind down after you get home after a game? Is it just sitting in silence, you reading TV, having a glass of wine? What's sort of the deal there?
Usually not a lot of TV. I love to read, but not after a game. Usually I got to kind of wind down. And I'm not, if you know me, usually I'm in bed by 10 o'clock. So on baseball nights, I'm a little wired. So when I get home at, probably get back to the house maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock, it's a little different, schedule for me. So usually, I don't eat before the game. So usually by the time I get home at 10:30, 11 o'clock, I haven't eaten since probably noon. And so usually I'm eating, get, something. We feed the team afterwards. So usually they, give me a box to go, and I'll go home and usually have a glass of wine. That helps. I shared that with Matt Luke. I said, "Hey," he said something, when he first got the interim job. I said, "Hey, buy a case of wine. That tends to help a lot after the games, win or lose."
Cammie and Catherine know whether to stay up and wait on you or kind of give you a little space when you get in?
Yes, it's almost comical. Usually if it's a big win on a Friday night, you can drive in, it's 11 o'clock and the lights are on. My dad will be there. He'll already have the, wine poured or whatnot. If we lose on Friday night, the lights are off. I come in and everybody's already in bed. And so, you can pretty much tell if the Biancos won or lost. Just check out if the lights are on or off on Friday night.
What you do during the spring and summer without baseball? I mean, it's the first time in 30 years you haven't been on that type of schedule. I mean, what was it like just not having the office and the games every day?
Yeah, like everybody, it was tough. You know, a lot of different things. I think when you ask a question, go through my mind. I think originally you have a lot of self pity. You feel sorry for yourself. You feel sorry for the people that you're closest to. I feel sorry for my team. I feel sorry for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Ben and Drew, and you feel sorry for Sam. Who's a senior that missed out on a senior year, and prom and all these different things. But then there's another part of it where like anything in life, through any adversity, and sounds so coach speak, but it's so true that sometimes from all the bad, some good comes of it, and hopefully uh, you know uh, makes you better for the future. And I think part of that is now we've never. You said I haven't, but we've never really been with the kids, and we haven't really ate dinner with the kids outside of a Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner. All five kids. At one time. And so we went probably through about 2 months from time mid-March to into June, where we had all five kids, and including my father. My father lives out in our guest house out in the back. Eight of us at dinner every single night for 2.5 months. I mean, like, I don't remember that. Maybe that happened 12, 13 years ago when Michael was 12, my oldest, who's 25 now. So that was nice. That was nice to be with them, and nothing's on TV. In some regards, that stinks. In some regards, it means you got to watch a movie together, or you got to play a game together. And then, as the weather got warmer, Cammy got crazy, and now there was a lot of projects. And so a lot of cutting trees and painting houses, and landscaping, and basketball games, which were fun, but dislocated my finger and still not better yet. So they figured I probably tore a ligament in my finger, but better in the sense I can do anything, but it's still I can't bend it the way I used to. But like everybody else, I mean, I think everybody has their stories, but I do appreciate, as bad as it was, I do appreciate the time to be able to spend, with our family. And thankfully, some of us got it and had the virus at some point in time.
Sure.
But thank God, none of us had it as bad as some people have had it. And it was nice to spend a lot of time with them.
I know you're trying to stay in the day. I mean, we talked about it on Tuesday. We're just saying how your team's got to be flexible. Does it worry you about what this thing looks like in the spring? If you got fans in the stadium, I mean, do you feel like baseball, and I guess every sport to some extent, but is there a point where you worry about next season happening if you can't get full attendance or stadium, or just how everything works? I mean, how does that kind of go through your mind right now?
I don't want to say that we haven't given it a lot of thought. I think it's in the back of everybody's mind. We feel very confident. We've been on several SEC calls with the commissioner. He feels very confident. I shouldn't even say confident. I feel there is no way that we won't play.
Okay.
I mean, that's how confident. I mean, now what does that look like with as far as capacity? I don't know, but I would be shocked if we were still at like 25% the way football is now. I think, like everything in life, it's a learning process, right? And so we're learning from football. Football's starting to have some adversity, obviously, this week, and you're starting to see that around. And I don't, it's not good, but I don't know if it's a surprise to anyone.
Sure.
That this was bound to happen. But if you remember, Chase, a few months ago, when they started baseball, basketball and baseball started, the professional, NBA and Major League, started about the same time. Of course, basketball, because it was, just the end of the season, and because of the nature of the sport and the amount of guys, you could actually put them in a bubble. Right? Mm-hmm. You could put them, at Disney World, put them up in this fancy resort. They could do that. I don't know how you can do that with football. I don't know how you can do that with baseball and the amount of teams and the travel. I think they thought about it, doing it in Arizona and Florida at the spring training sites, but at that time, those were the hot spots, and so it almost seemed ridiculous to do it, that way. But if you remember the first few weeks of the baseball season at the end of July and early August, when the Marlins, who ended up making the playoffs, the Marlins got sick, and some of the protocols seemed very dumb and, not thought out. And the commissioner and a lot of people took a lot of heat from that. Well, baseball's, about to play in the World Series, right, in a couple days.
Sure.
Like they've gotten through it, and not without some instances, not without some games being pushed back and canceled and double headers and a playoff where they actually eventually go to a bubble when they can, when they got enough teams, and to play every single day, which I think they admit the reason we're doing it is trying to get it done, trying to be done with it versus, the normal rest, and they figured it out. I think football's going to learn just like that, we'll learn from them. We'll learn some of the mistakes that they've made. And then the other sports, and of course you got basketball coming up. But I feel very confident. That's a long answer, but I feel very confident that we'll be playing, and I would be surprised if we didn't have a lot of people in the stands.
Pretty much last thing, and that's this for my own curiosity. I don't believe a lot of coaches when they go, yeah, absolutely, I don't. I'm in a shell. I don't read. I don't listen. You don't have any idea what we write and say half the time, do you? You really are pretty much in a bubble away from that, aren't you?
I don't know if it's a bubble. It's the bubble I prefer.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we were taught a long time ago, and this is no slight to you or any of the beat writers or people that do it, that I think it's good when I'm different than my daughter. If there's an article written about her, that's great, and it's something for the scrapbook. But there's something written about our baseball program every single day.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, if you believe it when it's good, then you'll believe it when it's bad. And I think it's good for us not to just get caught up into that. I think what you do is very valuable, and you're terrific at what you do, because not only do you write, but you understand our game, and you try to go at different, I think, to look at it from different perspectives, and I think that's awesome. And I do read occasionally what you write, but it's usually somebody's got to put it in front of me. So I probably only read the things that you write good about me. But I also understand that that's what your job is. And I understand that what your job is and what my job is are two different things. Even though we come in contact and communicate a lot, they're two different things. And so, no, I don't do that. I don't follow a lot of people on Twitter. And without going on some long rant, it's how I operate. And I don't need that. I don't need to know everything. I don't need to know everybody's opinion. I don't mean that my opinion is, can't change, or I can't hear from somebody else in respect. But I think there's too much of that now. And it's a shame. We live in a society where everybody thinks their opinion matters. No, it doesn't. Your opinion really doesn't have to matter to me, and it doesn't have to matter to you. It can matter to you personally, but it doesn't have to matter to all the people. And we all should be respectful of how people feel. And because of the media and the social media now, and it's not your blog, it's everything. It doesn't matter if it's Stephen A. Smith or so everybody has an opinion. And, unfortunately, a lot of them are negative. And I think sometimes if you're in that world too much, that's not a good thing. You get a little guarded, you get a little edgy, and it's not healthy. And I think it's, I think sometimes it's good to step back and not have to hear what everybody thinks about, a game or your ability, and so on. So anyway, yeah, I guess if you want to call it a bubble, it's a bubble.
Spare me one more. Just kind of curious. You feel like this generation of player, I mean, I think you can say we've been through two generations or so as you've been coaching. Do you coach them differently? Is there a different anything to that? Is there ways you coach now that you kind of wish you'd have known 20 years ago? I mean, how do you think you've sort of evolved as communicator and coach over the last 2 decades?
Well, there's a lot of things. I think one of the things that I'm proud of is the system that you hear us talk about, and people call it culture now. It's just the in vogue thing. I mean, we use this phrase system because of I've been here too long, and that's how we call it. But one of the great things about our system is that it's evolved. It evolved when I was in it as a player and as an assistant coach. To watch Coach Bertman, the way he added strength and conditioning, how he added the mental game to our program and our system. We've tried to do that over the years. I think the misnomer about one of the misnomers about our program is, hey, they've been there forever. This is the way they do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. There's things in our program that we've done for 20 years that are the same that when I was a player.
Mm-hmm.
But there's things that are drastically different, or the way we approach it, be it recruiting, be it the mental game, be it the analytics, whatever it is. As far as actual coaching and philosophy, those things have changed because, let's face it, kids have changed. Kids are different now than they were 20 years ago. I think they need more compliments. I think they need to, and maybe because of what we were just talking about, because of the negativity and because there's so much out there being judged and the pressure that they're under, there's much more eyes on them now than there were 20 years ago.
Sure.
When you look at Hayden Dunhurst and how many people know him and watch his every move in college baseball now. Now, I'm not talking about the running back, right? I'm not talking about the point guard. I'm talking about college baseball. Think of Hayden Dunhurst and think of Carl Lafferty. And think of how much the game's changed, and what's the pressures on these kids. And because of all of that, I think we got to coach them a little different. But I think also you got to find that fine line in who you are and be true to yourself and true to the program. So I don't know if we're necessarily easier. I'm sure the guys 20 years ago will say, hey, you're easier. But I think we're more aware, I think, than we were 20 years ago. I think we're more accepting than we were 20 years ago. I think we understand that there's certain things that kids have been through that we need to be aware of, and to make sure that to get the most out of them, to get the most out of their ability, so they can have the career that they wanted here. I think sometimes you got to change a little bit.
Well, I mean, the kids have to be tougher because, I mean, Hayden Dunhurst, like you said, things are getting written and said every single day. You got to ignore it. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a great thing in so many ways for your program, but it's treated like an SEC football program. I mean, they're under a microscope for everything they do, where if they get in trouble at 2:30 in the morning, I'm probably calling you at 8:30 to go, hey, what's up? It wasn't like that in 2002.
No, you're exactly right. And that's okay. I mean, because it's the society that they live in. Nobody's complaining, it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
And we get that. And so, with that, there's a cost, but there's also a reward, right? They get the locker room that Hayden Dunhurst dresses in is a lot different than the locker room that Carl Lafferty dressed in.
Right.
The amount of shoes that Hayden Dunhurst gets, as part of the program is a lot different than what Carl Lafferty got. And so, nobody's complaining. All we're saying is it is different. But it's not just athletics.
Sure.
It's everything. It's the high school kids and what the pressures that they have, and it's different. And I think that's why every generation looks, and just because of technology and because you can do some things a little easier, right, doesn't mean that your life is necessarily easier. It means that, maybe you can put something in a microwave, or maybe you got, you can stream games and you can watch stuff on your phone, and technology's made a lot of things easier, but the life of an 18-year-old to 22-year-old kid is a lot more complicated than it used to be, a lot more difficult. And if you don't believe that, then you're not in touch with what's going on. But to be a teenager or be a young adult now is much more difficult, I think, than when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Again, one man's opinion.
Okay. Well, appreciate it, Mike. Kept you a little longer than I meant to, and hopefully you get the rest of your fall in without issue.
Thanks, Chase. I appreciate it.
That's it.
All right, that was Mike Bianco. Sorry, Neal and I just staring at one another, I think, right there. Nobody talking, but hope you enjoyed. Mike, good dude, opened up a little bit there as talked a lot of things not necessarily about his team. We'll continue the podcast in 1 second, but we do want to tell you about Visit Oxford. Visit OxfordMS.com is the place to go see what the events are in town this week and every week. You can find out where to stay, where to eat, what to do, and much more. This weekend, the double-decker bus outside the stadium from 9 to 11 for photos and different things. Music on the City Hall Plaza post-game Saturday. That is the 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. Kevin Geyer and John McLeod doing that. Record Store Day is on Saturday as well. And then the Oxford Film Festival doing a drive-in at Cannon Motors. I've been telling you about that for a couple days. On October 24th, the Addams Family and the Ghostbusters drive-in double feature. On the 30th, it's Halloween and Night of the Loup Garou. And then also on the 31st, on Halloween night, Army of Darkness and Halloween. So those double features. This week, I said it yesterday, it is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Neverending Story. Those are the two on Wednesday night for that one. So I had to remember a little bit. So again, Cannon Motors drive-in. Find out more. Visit oxfordms.com.
With fall upon us, now's a good time to start preparing for colder weather. No one wants to come home, find out their heating system isn't working. Our friends over at Comer Heating and Air have you covered. Comer Heating and Air is the name you can trust and brings over 50 years of professional HVAC experience to Oxford, Tupelo, and the surrounding area. Comer Heating and Air is offering a special fall preventative maintenance agreement to make sure your heating system is running in tip-top shape. So make sure to call Comer Heating and Air, 662-801-1777 for all your heating and cooling needs. We're also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles, great lease deals as well. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com. We're brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you are thinking about traveling, just get in touch with John. Give him some parameters, a budget. He'll give you options. And know this, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. Brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust is home to the Pinnacle Trust 401k Advisory Services team. They can conduct a complimentary, no-obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. Get 10% off your first year's fees. It's pintrust.com, P-I-N-N trust.com. We're also brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. If you're coming to town this weekend for Ole Miss and Auburn, and maybe you don't have time to get to them during store hours 10 to 6 on Saturday, you can make an appointment. Just DM them on social media, Instagram, Twitter, whatnot. Send them an email, info@bluedeltajeans.com, and they can hook you up with a special time that is just for you. And we're brought to you by the College Corner, your one-stop Rebel Shop, 2 locations in the Jackson area. In Flowood, it's next to Fleet Feet. In Ridgeland, it's next to Fleet Feet. And in Flowood, it's next to Half Shell. I was trying to create a new Jackson suburb right there. If you don't live in Jackson, not a problem. You can visit the College Corner at collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram through the month of October. Mention Rebel Grove at checkout. Get 15% off your entire purchase. You can also use it online. Just put Rebel Grove in the coupon tab at checkout.
So, let's see what we got going on. A couple different notes from baseball on the topic. Derek Diamond threw another bullpen on Sunday. Again, he had that forearm tightness. Had him shut down for the fall, but he's thrown bullpens 2 straight weeks. He was up over 90 miles an hour with his fastball. He's fine. Mike said, I have an abundance of caution. They are not going to throw him this fall off a mound, any live action. He'll continue to throw bullpens the rest of the fall, and then he'll be ready to go in the spring as Ole Miss's number 3 starter. So, really just taking it easy there. Derek Diamond does not need to prove anything in the month of October, so shut him down and let him deal with it next spring when the bullets start flying for real. Justin Bench has been cleared for baseball activity.
Johnny's kid.
Johnny's kid, yes. Actually, that is very true. His dad's name is John Bench.
That's what I said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heard that somewhere that he was Johnny Bench's
Back
kid.
in the day, it was a really big recruiting win. I mean, Justin's a good kid, good player, but did not carry the pizzazz that one media member believed it did when it happened. Well, he said it with such authority, too, where, frankly, I had to question myself a little bit. I'm like, shit, did I miss that?
Remains one of the funniest things I've ever heard. I mean, I had to just go away and curl up in the fetal position and laugh for a little while.
Yeah. Well, and then I pulled it up on Perfect Game, and I went to parents, and I went, I'll be damned. All right.
Son of a bitch.
It wasn't wrong. That's true. Whatever. Oh God. Anyway, he's back. He will eventually compete against freshman Gonzalez for Jacob Gonzalez at shortstop in the spring.
That's Luis's kid.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Tony's kid.
I mean, they did have Tom Pagnozzi's kid back in the day. That one was real.
They did.
It's all good.
They did.
It's fine. Yeah.
Oh,
I guess
shoot.
that's it. Calvin Harris is out with Tommy John stuff.
Franco's kid.
He's from Dubuque though, so we do have that.
Oh,
one
okay, that's
push
good.
with him. But
I'll
nonetheless,
stop. I'm sorry.
That's about it. More content whenever, but that's what Mike said that actually had some news value. He also was talking about that he hated to say it out loud because most coaches wouldn't say things that's kind of against what fans want or NCAA wants or anything else. Typically they let them play 2 games against other teams, and he said we need the reps ourselves. We need to play ourselves because that's double the at-bats. That's doubles the innings pitched. We've been shut down. He's like, frankly, he was really happy when the NCAA came out and was like, yeah, no, you're good. Just play yourself this season. So
I will. Let's see. There's something in the thread. Blake Robinson puts in the thread Saturday's New Mexico at Colorado State game canceled due to coronavirus concerns at New Mexico. I've gotten some questions about this. I don't think there's really any major concern this week with Ole Miss and Auburn from a COVID standpoint.
Yeah.
There is more concern, and it is considerable from talking to Vanderbilt people about Ole Miss at Vanderbilt next
about the Commodores'
Saturday.
ability to play the game.
Yes. Not Ole Miss's, about Vanderbilt's. I actually think Ole Miss is okay based on kind of what I'm hearing. In fact, today Jalen Jordan was on the call. There's a notebook up, and he was asked about some of the defensive COVID issues, some of the COVID issues that the Ole Miss defense has had. I think that's a better way to put it.
Okay.
And he sort of implied, or at least I inferred from what he said, that guys were coming back.
Okay.
That they weren't losing guys; they were actually getting guys back.
Okay.
So it sounds like Ole Miss is in a better position from a COVID standpoint than they were a week ago, despite what Lane Kiffin said yesterday on the press conference call, the Zoom call. Vanderbilt has issues. Vanderbilt has like 14 guys out. And then here's part of Vanderbilt's problem is that they already have a lot of number issues anyway. And people go, well, so what? Well, you have to have 50. Is it 53 or 52?
53.
Okay, you have to have 53 scholarship players to play. And Vanderbilt, it's iffy.
Well, and not just 53, but they have to be a certain number at every position.
Yeah.
Every school that's had a lot of problems, the 53 hasn't typically been a problem. It's the positions where that's why Lane put a couple quarterbacks at wide receiver and has done some stuff position-wise on the official roster to help mitigate those issues should they pop up.
So Vanderbilt already has a game scheduled for the 12th. I guess that's their Missouri game, December the 12th. So it's conceivable, unless you are holding out hope, that either Ole Miss or Vanderbilt makes the SEC championship, at which point, God bless you. It's conceivable they could play each other on December the 19th in Nashville.
SEC championship doubleheader. Vanderbilt opening it up, then
You'd think
Georgia
that would
and
be
Alabama.
my guess. I can go ahead and tell you the time for that game, 11 a.m.
Not like 3:30,
No,
7.
it'd be 11 a.m.
Not 7.
No,
You don't think so?
it'd be 11 a.m.
Did the Big 12 play their game at 11 a.m.?
They do,
Is that right?
yeah.
No, hold on.
Well, no, they play at night.
Yeah, no, they're a night game. Yeah, SEC's like 3:30 or
It's
whatever
the big.
it is.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Somebody plays at 11. Maybe it's just like
It's-
the American or something.
I
like
don't
that.
know.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
who knows?
I mean, something like that. I don't. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens. Got an Arkansas fan in our thread. Chad Morris didn't ruin you. He just didn't fix you. You sucked before Chad Morris. You just kept sucking during Chad Morris.
Yes.
He just didn't fix Brett Bielema's
Yes.
issues.
Yes. He was a bad hire on the.
Now he's a bad hire at Auburn.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he's just not a very good football coach.
SMU's been better since he left.
Well, a lot better.
Dykes has them legitimately good.
Maybe him leaving is what allowed Dabo to pull that thing out at Clemson. Best thing that ever happened to him.
Well, it's worth noting that Clemson's
mean-
been better since he left.
Yeah. They also have a Georgia-type machine currently going through the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah.
A big-ass orange bulldozer, pretty
They
much.
do. They do.
They
They have quite the operation there.
They do, yes. They're yeah. You care? You're gonna watch the World Series? What's up?
Do I care? No. Will I watch it? Yeah, probably. I'll watch some of it, and then if it's compelling, I'll they're going to have to win me over. Let's put it that way. It's been weird, man. I mean, I've been, like, nights are busy. Like last night, Carson had soccer till 7, so I went to get him. I got him back at 7:20. And, you know, you kind of have to – he's at that age where you kind of have to make him go do things like, hey, shower, get your shower, get your shower. And then, you know, he comes down and you get him fed, and then he had homework, he had some math homework, and there was just stuff. And you look up and it's like 8:30. And you just end up flipping like the Food Network on or something.
Just kind of.
Or I pull something out to like get ahead. Like I worked on my mailbag some. I just can't get into anything. And it's not that I'm not protesting. I just can't. Like I was going to watch some of the Monday night game, and then I looked up and it's like the Cowboys were down 400-0, and I'm like, never mind. So if it's not compelling.
I forgot about Bills Titans, and it was almost too early. I was doing stuff.
That was the weirdest damn thing. So I was on my Peloton, and I looked up, and I'm
Bills Chiefs.
Yeah, Bills Chiefs. I'm like, is this real?
Yeah, because it was like 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I thought it was like a playback or something because I had it on mute.
Yeah.
And then by the time I realized it was real, I had to go get him.
And
yeah, just you lose track.
The way the Rays are put together makes them really fun, makes you want them to win. I think that's cool for baseball and for real baseball fans. There's a little bit of positive karma, frankly, for the Dodgers if they pull it out. I think. And the best team winning a World Series, I don't mind. I don't mind rewarding excellence over a period of time when they have been the best franchise in baseball. I know some legitimate Dodgers fans. Be happy for those people that are friends. I don't think I know a Rays fan.
Jim Dunaway in Birmingham is a big Rays fan.
Okay, yeah, I don't know a Tampa Rays fan off the top of my head that's a legitimate friend. I know 3 or 4 Dodgers fans that are legitimate. It's not like, hey, I'm just rooting for the favorite, but I don't know. Yeah, I haven't even really figured out who I want to win, but I think I'm going to watch. I think I'm just interested in the baseball, if nothing else. So I'll have it on. We'll see what happens.
We had a funny day in our house yesterday. This is you can relate to this because Carly Ann's what, 5?
4.
4. So back when I was an Auburn beat writer a million years ago, whenever I would go on road trips that made me fly. First with Campbell and then with Caroline. So Campbell was born in 2001. Caroline was born in 2003.
Sure.
For Blake Jones in the Thread. My daughter Campbell, not Blake, Brooks Jones, who's the Hog fan in the Thread. My daughter is a sophomore at Arkansas. So you probably, if you're looking for the show that is going to be antagonistic, you're probably in the wrong place. But you're welcome here, and we're glad to have you. Please hit the subscribe button.
And the bell.
And the bell. That would be nice. And my other daughter, Caroline's probably headed there too, so you're really in the wrong place. Anyway, it was 2003, and I had covered – I guess this was – 2003 was my first year off the Auburn beat, but I traveled even more. It was the ironic thing, I traveling as much and ended up traveling more. Mm-hmm. And so I had covered a Tennessee game. I want to say it was Tennessee LSU in Baton Rouge. No, in Knoxville. Gotten in a plane the next morning and flown to Green Bay. Okay. So I'm at the Knoxville airport on a Sunday morning, bright and early, and I bought these 2 little stuffed animals for the girls.
Okay.
I bought a leopard and a giraffe. Okay. And I get home, and Caroline's an infant. She doesn't get to choose. Campbell at this point is 2, a little over 2, so she got to choose. She chose the giraffe.
Okay, sure.
So Caroline, by default, got the leopard. Well, the leopard has been Caroline's best friend for 17-plus years.
Okay.
And we never could figure out whatever happened to the giraffe. We always would talk about, hey, I wonder what happened to that giraffe. And yesterday, we finally cleaned out a playroom closet and kind of trying to create some room to put things in the attic and to stuff. And yesterday, I'm looking at this box that I'm supposed to take up to the attic, and I'm like, what is that? And I open it up, and there are 2 giraffes in there. And one, I'm like, is that it? And I looked at it, and I'm like, no, it's not it. And I was getting ready just to close it up, and I saw the second giraffe, and I pull it out, and son of a bitch, it was the giraffe from the Knoxville airport in 2003. So I pull it out, and I'm looking at its tag and looking at the date and stuff, and I'm like, that's it. And so I start texting the girls and everybody, and I'm making up these stories about about this giraffe, about how he's been locked up in a box for all these years. And it was really ended up being a really funny day because we started just making up this narrative of what had happened to the giraffe, because I sat the giraffe back next to Larry the leopard.
It is kind of nice run across it, though, after all these years. I mean, that's a...
I sat the giraffe next to Larry the leopard and took pictures and said reunited, and all this stuff, and made up these stories about the things Larry was telling him about, Larry's life. Larry's like, I've been everywhere. I'm getting ready to go to college. And the giraffe was like, I've been in a box. So that was...
It's a really sad Disney movie when looking back.
Well, that's what the girls were like, you really should write a book about that. So... I don't have time to write a book about it, nor do I think I'm talented enough to write a book about it. But it was really funny yesterday. So I looked up at 9 o'clock and we were still talking about the giraffe. So I didn't see a whole lot.
Yeah.
So are we Thursday? What are we going to go up against the debate? What are we going to do?
I don't know.
I don't either.
We'll figure it out. I don't know.
Have you ever been more fatigued over a political race in your life? I mean, there's 2 full weeks of this left. Literally 2 weeks to the day, at least.
Oh yeah, this thing's not.
No, you know who Rich Lowry is with National Review. He does some sort of podcast, and I don't know who he had on. He had a pollster on who basically nailed the 2016 election, and he says it's going to be really tight and it's going to carry over because of the mail-in votes. And you saw the Supreme Court ruling about the Pennsylvania votes yesterday. I mean, this thing. It just has all the makings of weeks of chaos and anger and angst and animosity.
It's gonna make 2000 look like a church social. That's what it's gonna do.
It is.
Yeah. So
because it's got a chance to be Bush v. Gore, except in about 20 places.
WWE.
Not literally 20, but like 5 or 6 instead of 1.
Yeah. So. All right. Back tomorrow, another show. Appreciate Mike. Again, some of you guys probably had already seen it, but nonetheless, in podcast form and in our stream today, we'll have topics. We'll talk to Lane Kiffin around noon tomorrow, so we'll have that before we start. And then we'll update you on whatever else goes on. So appreciate everybody. Appreciate guys in the stream, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.